Happy Thursday, webheads. Hopefully you got some time to read some of your books because we're about to do another episode of After the Pull. Hey, all my webheads out there, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, I am your host, Mike Spider Slayer, always helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy. And today, guys, I'm bringing you another episode of After the Pull. That's right, this is the weekly video series where I take 6 of probably my most highly anticipated, maybe not always, and see if they live up to the hype. Now, I go in depth with these reviews, so there are going to be spoilers. So if you have not read your comics yet, read those comics that I talk about here today, and then come back and watch this series. So before we get started, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss any content from me. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the books, or I'm going to show you the books that we're going to be talking about today. So the first book that we're going to be talking about today will be Stillwater. This is from Image Comics, written by Chip Zdarsky. The next book that we're going to be talking about here today is going to be King in Black, issue 4. The next one that we'll be talking about today is probably going to be Thor. This is issue 12. The next book we'll be talking about today is XMen Legends. This is issue 1. And then we're going to be talking about The Last Ronin, issue 2, a very highly anticipated book. And of course, we have that mystery book that we'll be talking about as well. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Alright guys, so the first book we're going to be talking about today is Chip Zdarsky's Stillwater. This is issue 6. Now, if you're not familiar with Stillwater, I definitely say pick this book up. This is the last issue of the story arc, and I would say get the trade paperback when it's released, because by the time issue 7 comes out, it'll be a great jumping on point and you'll be all caught up. Now, if you're not familiar of what's going on in Stillwater, it's about this town where you can live in and you never age, you never get sick, you never die. So if you're a little kid and you're 5 years old, you're always going to stay 5 years old. It's kind of crazy. Recently in this story, we've been having a rebellion with the townsfolk. They want to go outside of Stillwater, but the judge who's in charge of this town doesn't want that to happen because he's afraid that this town is going to be exposed, the secrets will be exposed, and people will overrun the town, and all bad things will actually happen. So in this book's we see the artwork in here. I'll show it off before we get a little bit more into the story of what's going on here. It looks good. It's always nice to look at. It goes exactly the way you would want when Chip Zdarsky's writing it. It's really well done. So what happens in this particular issue? Well, this is more of a flashback issue, okay? Now remember, guys, this is spoilers, so if you have not read your copies, come back and read your copies. So in the last issue, issue 5, we wind up seeing the town I guess the courtroom or wherever this hearing was being held with a vote if people should go outside the town and explore and things like that. It just didn't go right, and the whole building wound up exploding and everybody was catching on fire. But before we get back to that, we wind up seeing a backstory of what happened in 1999, where Ted, one of the judge's enforcers, has to go out on a mission and go against his old Marine squad because they threatened to I guess possibly go into the town and expose the secrets and stuff like that. So he was forced to do this mission to where he actually had to kill one of his old buddies, and it was very sad. So this whole thing goes down. He meets up with his old sergeant. Also, the Sarge winds up witnessing him killing one of the people, and Ted winds up giving the sergeant an ultimatum and says, "Listen, I just kicked your ass. I could kill you right now, but I'm going to let you go. And my word is my word. Don't ever show your face again, and I'll let you live. But if you do, I'm going to kill your wife, your family, blah, 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 blah." Okay? So time goes on. Quite a few years. 2017 actually happens. The sergeant makes his way back into Ted's life, and he wants revenge for killing part of their squad or their Marine Corps partners or whatnot. And he sits there and says, I don't care because my wife is dead. My daughter hasn't reported back. And now I'm going to kill you for what you did in the past. But Ted gives the sergeant ultimatum, says, I got something that's going to change your life. And he makes his old sergeant part of the community of Stillwater, and they're part of the enforcers now. So when they come back to present time where the actual courtroom or wherever they were having that hearing was on fire, we wind up getting to see now that this town is basically having a civil war with itself. We wind up seeing all of Ted's enforcers come together, and it looks like they're going to stop the rebellion of the Stillwater community. It was a really good issue, and I love seeing the backstory of this character, Ted, because we kind of get to see, his job is very hard. He's supposed to stop everything that's happening at Stillwater, from people exposing the secrets, or if they know about it, like he's got to kill them. So he has a tough job, and we can see that pressure mounting on him throughout this issue. Great book overall. I definitely say pick this book up, guys. Don't pass it up. If you haven't read it yet, I feel like, you should. There might be some DC or Marvel title that you're not digging, but I think you're going to dig this. So definitely pick up Stillwater in general. So the next book we're going to be talking about is the mystery book. Yeah, that's right. The book that I did not announce that we were going to be talking about at the beginning of this episode. And the book is Black Widow. This is issue 5. I feel like this is a very underrated series, and people may not give this one a chance because Black Widow books in the past have not been that great. And Kelly Thompson is the writer of this book, and she's done a wonderful job at doing something a little bit different when it comes to Natasha Romanoff. Okay, so let's check out the artwork in this series. It's really well done. Facial expressions from Natasha in this book are so awesome. The paneling layouts are really good. Viper, you get to see her in this book as well for a little while. And it's just an awesome, awesome book. It's so well drawn. Check out this 2-page spread here with Hawkeye in it. We got Winter Soldier is in here as well. Natasha looks good when you see her in action. It's a phenomenal book to look at. So, what is this story about, and why should you read it? Well, really, in a nutshell, it's about Natasha who is brainwashed. They're trying to keep her under wraps. They don't want her out in the superhero world doing the things that she does best, is stop criminals, right? So what they decided to do with her in this particular series is they captured her. They gave her this implant, and they gave her a false family. So it's like she doesn't remember anything. She doesn't remember that she's a spy or anything like that. And she wakes up one day and she has a husband and she has a kid. And it's been months, and she's actually developed real relations with this child and this man. They've both been brainwashed as well to be her, her family. And in this issue, everything is caught up. All hell has broke loose. The implant is bad, and now they all started doing battle with them. Arcade was behind this whole thing because they were doing this Big Brother type of situation where they were watching her. And in this issue, we wind up seeing that her family was actually killed. And when she witnesses them blowing up and dying, she remembers all the good times that she spent with them. Now remember, this may have been not her real family, but she remembers all these times that she's had with them, and she has developed real feelings for this family. So this hurts her a lot. This is the closest to a real life that Natasha has ever had, and that's what makes this book so good. Again, you can see the emotion in her eyes in this book, and we get to see that she has to quickly pick up the pieces, and she has to stop the villains behind this from everybody else being killed. So it was a really emotional roller coaster in this book to see what happens. such a well done book. I definitely say pick this book up. This is something that should not be left on the shelves. Again, she is just, trying to regain everything, trying to get her composure, trying to mourn and things like that. We get to see her being consoled by Bucky, and she's been through so much, and she's just, again, upset about the life that she lost, because this was the closest to a real life that she's ever had. And the one thing that she does have in this book is she has a cat that was left over, and she's obviously going to keep this cat, and she feels like this is kind of a new beginning for her, and she winds up getting a new look, a new outfit, and she basically has she wears a hoodie. It's still all black, and it's got this red outline trim on it, and so she's starting over, and she's becoming Natasha once again in a new way. So a really good book. I definitely say pick this one up. Maybe you can still get issues 1 through 4 on the rack, but if this does come out in a trade, I definitely say pick this one up, guys. You're not going to be disappointed. This is some of Kelly Thompson's best work and the best Black Widow series that I have read to date so far. So the next book we're going to be talking about today is X-Men Legends. This is issue 1. This was a highly anticipated book. If you grew up in the 90s, this is a big deal for you, because this is going back and filling in the gaps of certain stories that had happened or were never told. So as an X-Men fan in the 90s with Jim Lee, Claremont, and all those other writers and artists, you're excited for this. If you watch the TV series, you know what I'm talking about here. So this was a highly anticipated book. Now, artistically, this book delivered in every way, shape, or form. This is exactly how I remembered the 90s X-Men. And the art in this book and the colors in this book just really popped. And this just brings back nostalgia. Like, check this out. Check out Alex and Scott here, man. It just is so good. Cable also makes his appearance in this book. Look at Professor Xavier in his hover wheelchair, which is so good. Let's check out the page with Cable in here. Yep, there we go. And so artistically, it delivered on all levels. It's like 5-star book when it comes to that. But unfortunately for the story, for me, there was just too much going on, and I felt like the introduction or reintroduction to the third brother was a bit much, and I would have loved to seen maybe a story with just our classic X-Men first, and then introduce this brother maybe later on in the series, right? We revisit a character that we have not seen in over 30 years, and I didn't even remember that this dude existed, and this guy's name is Adam X, okay? And again, he's the third brother, but they don't know at this point that Adam X is related to Scott and Alex, and they don't know that they're related. All that we get is we get a visit from Cable saying that he must go and visit these two and try not to fight because they have a mission that they have to go on. Now, Adam's been at Earth for probably about a year. This is when his powers manifested, and he's been learning to meditate and deal with things, and you learn about his history, where he came from, what his powers are about and stuff like that. It's just a lot to take in, especially when you're not familiar with this character, and the book is desperately trying to get you caught up with a character that you have not seen in about 30 years. But it was kind of cool to see these nostalgic characters and to see this version of the Starjammers, right? Or the Starjammers once again. And so as the issue continues here, we wind up, of course, getting to see the Summers family meet up, but they don't know that they're all brothers. And we get to see Cyclops' father come aboard, and they find out that they're all related at the end of the day, and then they're going to be doing battle against each other. So in any shape, form, it wasn't a bad book. I just thought they could have chose something else as the introductory issue to get people really excited, bringing back all these classic characters, and just wait a couple issues until introducing a brand new character. I just felt like they overwhelmed you with a lot of information, again, about this not new, but revisited Adam X, because probably a lot of you guys, the newer readers out there, are not familiar with this guy, and it's like, do I care so much about him yet? So we'll see where it goes. I'm still on board. I can't wait to see some of these other nostalgic characters and the way they look. Unfortunately, I don't think Brett Booth is going to be on the artwork on this series for very long. I think he's only doing 2 issues, but hopefully he comes back to it. So this was overall a pretty good book. I had my expectations super high, and story-wise, it just did not deliver 100% there. So moving on, we're going to be talking about now is Thor. This is issue 12. This book is awesome, man. Donny Cates is tearing it up when it comes to Thor. I had so much fun with this particular issue. Here's the interior artwork. I think, was it Nick Klein that does the artwork in this? It's always so nice to look at. It just has that almost like an independent feel. Like, look at Throg in this issue, man. It's so badass. Some of the things that happened in this book had my jaw dropped. It was so much fun. But look at that battle there between Donald Blake and Throg. Sorry, that's a tongue twister there. But so well done. So what happens in this issue? Well, if you remember in the last issue, we wound up seeing, I think, Lockjaw and Throg make their appearance at the end, and right away it picks up where it last left off, where we see this battle commencing, and Throg and Lockjaw are just kicking the shit out of Donald Blake in the beginning of this series. They do this crazy battle. They're teleporting all over the place because Lockjaw can obviously teleport, and Donald Blake is trying to get away to catch his breath. And one scene in this book was so awesome, I couldn't believe it happened. Donald Blake winds up getting Throg, and he winds up eating him. Like, look at that page right there. He shoves him in his mouth and actually eats them. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's disgusting. But the funny thing is that he can't digest them. He winds up throwing his hammer outside of his mouth. Look at that right there. He throws his hammer outside of his mouth, and then he winds up escaping. And when the hammer comes back and hits him in the stomach, he like regurgitates him out. It is so funny. And he goes, yeah, let's get this on, monster. Let's get going. And they just keep battling. And they start winning. They actually get the one up on Donald Blake in this issue. And he goes, all right, we're going to visit a doctor. So they wind up going to visit Doctor Strange. But unfortunately, it doesn't go well. Donald Blake becomes even more powerful, and Lockjaw just kind of winds up landing right where Jane Foster has to be, and she transforms into Valkyrie, and they all start doing battle with each other, and Jane Foster sees Donald for what he truly is now. Such an awesome book, man. There was so much action. And Donald Blake is just becoming more and more powerful. He tries to destroy the World Tree. Thor knows what's going on because he can feel it in the underworld where Donald Blake was at. And Jane Foster is forced to go and get someone at the end of this book that we haven't seen in a while. And man, oh man, this book is so good. Just when I think it can't get any better, it just blows my mind. This is awesome. I was never a huge fan of the character Thor, but somehow, some way, Donny Cates got me really into this character, and this story has been absolutely outstanding. I definitely say pick this book up if you have not read Thor, but I don't know who's not reading it. So go ahead, check it out, guys. In my opinion, this is like a 5-star book this week. So good. All right, webheads, so now we're coming up to another huge book this week. This is the penultimate issue of King in Black. This is issue 4 of that series, and let me just tell you, this book delivered on all cylinders. Now, when you look at artwork when it comes to King in Black, Ryan Stegman has probably done his best work when it comes to this series. Check this out. 2-page spread there, or at least half of a 2-page spread anyway, with Dylan and the God King in Black himself, Null. It just looks so good. Look at Spider-Man web slinging through here. This is just a beautiful book to look at all the way around. Jean Grey makes her appearance in this book as she's doing like a psychic reading, or not a psychic reading, but going into Null's mind and finding out what can stop him. So good. great artwork. So our heroes in this particular issue wind up coming up with a plan to stop Null. So we see Dylan and Null go face to face with each other, and basically Dylan has to grab a hold of Null and go into the hive mind, try to, I guess, distract him. And he does. He reaches in and he goes into his mind and he penetrates his mind. And we get to see all the heroes that are captured by the symbiotic goo wind up getting released, whether it's Cyclops and the Human Torch and Sue Storm and Thor and just everybody else, right? We wind up seeing all of them get released, which was kind of like phase 1 in here. And then we wind up getting Stephen Strange. He winds up acquiring his power to chip in and, do battle against Null as well. So we get to see our heroes are starting to get the upper hand. And while Jean Grey has the opportunity, because his mind is weak, she can go into his mind and try to find out what the weakness is. And we get to see her go really deep into the mind, the history of Null. And she goes so deep and she's like, there's nothing there. He is the creator of darkness. There's nothing that can stop him. But she found one thing. There was, wherever there's dark, there's light, and at one point light could possibly stop Null, but it wasn't strong enough at the time. It was in its infancy, and but there is something there. But as she speaks, remember the last page on issue 3, we wind up seeing Silver Surfer Black wind up making his way towards Earth. And he tries to penetrate the shield that's around the Earth right now, and he couldn't do it. But we find out that he is the carrier of the light, and the light is searching for a new host. It's like a symbiosis type of thing. Silver Surfer Black releases it from its particular body, from his body, and Null realizes that. And where does it go? Well, it goes into the dead body of Eddie Brock, and we wind up seeing Eddie Brock rising again, and it looks like that he's going to be the new Captain Universe. And I have not seen that character in eons. Like, I had to go look it up, like the Enigma Force and all that crazy stuff, that cosmic being, and it looks like these two are going to go battling against each other to save Earth. I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. Obviously, we got to see a light in one of the Web of Venom tales a long time ago that was delivered by Wraith, but I didn't expect it. I was always wondering, well, what's that going to be? But it was such a nice issue, man, and the ending just had me just going, wow, and I was just anxiously turning the pages here, trying to find out what's going to happen. But I love the reading of Jean Grey trying to find out the weakness of him when she first went into his mind. It was so well done. Such a great book. This has been a phenomenal event. If this comes out in a hardcover collected edition, I'm going to definitely pick this up. This is something that I want to always read in its entirety. This was awesome book. Definitely pick this book up if you haven't yet already, guys. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the granddaddy of the books of them all for this week so far that I have read, and this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin. This is issue 2. This book has been long awaited since issue 1. People love the first issue. If you're not knowing what's going on in this, you need to read it, and I'm just letting you know now, it's been out for a while. The Last Ronin is Michelangelo, okay? And all of his brothers have been killed. Now, this book artwork, it just delivers on so many levels. We get to just see, Michelangelo in this book all scarred up. He's all bloodied up. We get to see great battles here from flashbacks with Raphael in this issue as well. I mean, it's so well done. I loved seeing it. We even go back to a time where Michelangelo is telling a story about what happened after his brothers died and what he tried to do, and it just goes back to like a Kevin Eastman type of style where it's just all black and white, and I really appreciate that, giving that original nod. I mean, this book really feels like you're reading an original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story, and I know that's when this story concept was originated, but it just really feels like that time, right? It's just obviously a different chapter in the Turtles' life. So this is titled The Last Ronin Part 2, The First to Fall. So obviously based off of this title alone, you're finding out, okay, well, what happens, like who dies first in this and out of all the turtles and whatnot. So in this particular issue, it starts off kind of happy. We see Casey and April. They wind up just getting to be engaged, and there was supposed to be this big dinner party and whatnot, but all of a sudden that gets all interrupted because we find out that the Foot Clan and the Turtles had this truce with each other, and that truce just went outside the window, and they started fighting against each other once again. And the Foot Clan made a surprise attack against Splinter, and Splinter is severely injured to the point to where obviously he gets killed. And we get to see April kind of reliving that in a dream when she was asleep. And we find out that April's had her share of disaster as well. She's lost an arm, she's lost a leg, she's been through a lot of traumatic experiences, okay? And we see that Casey is still alive, but it's not the Casey that you think that it is, Casey Jones, right? So we get to see this PTSD that Michelangelo is really dealing with, as he always constantly talks to his brothers. He feels obviously guilty that it's his fault while his brothers are dead and why he didn't succeed on his current mission. And we get to see a flashback of what happened to the first turtle who actually fell, and that was to Raphael. Raphael gets pissed off because the Foot Clan went after his sensei, and we wind up seeing the possible death. Now, the person that he does battle against is, I think, in the IDW world, what is her name? Kari, if I said that name right. And I think in the IDW version, I think she was Shredder's girlfriend. I could be incorrect. I don't read the current TMNT series. I fell off of it, so correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, I won't take offense to it and never claim that I know everything in comics. I truly don't, and I truly don't remember everything that happens in comics, so just correct me if I'm wrong there. So we get to see an ambush that happens, or a fight that happens, and we get to see the battle between those two. And it looks like, based off of the battle that happens in the issue, is that they wind up killing each other when they go into the water. So you wind up seeing that first death of the first turtle there, and you get to see great moments in this book. You know, last book was so action heavy, and this one was so emotional heavy, and to see them reunite with each other was awesome. You know, to see them talk about how his mutation has evolved and how what April has been going through, and how April now has a daughter. So the father, Casey Jones, has died, but we wind up seeing Casey Marie Jones, the daughter of the two, and we wind up seeing that she really idolizes the turtles. She's kept all their artifacts and their weapons and Splinter's book, and she really idolized them because she heard April, you know, talking about them all the time and remembering them, and she preserved all that stuff. And she told Michelangelo that it really meant a lot to the mom, to April, that, you know, that Michelangelo is still alive, and she wants to help Michelangelo go battle against the next generation of the Foot Clan, obviously. And again, like I said earlier, we wind up seeing this backstory of Michelangelo, what he did after his brothers died, how he was going to try to kill himself, but his body wouldn't die, and he realized the meaning of life and what his mission, what he must do. And there was just so many great things to this book, and I loved it. All right, webheads, so there you have it. There's some of the awesome books that I read this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of After the Poll. I want to know what books you are enjoying the most this week. Do you agree with the opinions that I said today? Do you disagree? I welcome all those comments. Again, guys, if you like this video, I'm going to leave you more content to check out right here. You can check out my latest comic book day haul. And until next time, guys, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off, and take care, everyone. Bye.